back again, and today I have for you the 10 influential books tag. I've been thinking about this one for quite some time because it's kind of difficult to pick out only 10 books. Yeah, I could have done 20, but anyway. So here we go. The first book I have for you is Mother Goose, Stories and Rhymes. Now this is my book from childhood. It's called the Childcraft Encyclopedia books. Now, what it composed of is, in this first one, it's called Poems of Early Childhood. And as you can see, it's a little old. And what's really good about this book and what I loved about it was I used to read these all the time with my mother, and my grandmother used to read these to me all the time. But they have great pictures, and I just, yeah, look at that. You know, I was in love with that book. And yeah, nursery rhymes were really important to me. So that's why I chose this one, because this is sort of like the beginning of me getting started with reading. The next one I have for you is another major favorite, because this is one I started reading on my own, and it's Little House on the Prairie. Now, I know this probably seems a little cliche and cheesy, but I don't know what it was about this series. I love this series. I used to read it all the time, back and forth, out of order and everything. Used to read it all the time. Loved this series. So this is an old book that I had, but this is I don't have the series anymore, so I'm probably gonna have to invest, but I want to invest in a nice one. So yeah, I have to find one. Next, of course, my favorite, or influential, I should say, is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Now, this is the Dover Thrift Edition, so nothing particular. Ooh, too much light. Nothing particular about this one, but I mean, because what I liked about this book is that I picked it out myself. I read it and loved it, and I think I was only 14 when I read this book. And I don't know what it was. I just fell in love with classics once I had read this one. Now, I guess you could say it's not the first one I really liked. The first one I really liked was maybe Great Expectations, but this one really spoke to me more than Great Expectations. Next is East of Eden. Now, East of Eden, I don't even know what edition this is. I used to have another edition, but this is the one that I have at the moment. But I would like to get a really nice edition of East of Eden. But like East of Eden is like, oh, if you haven't read this book, you're missing out. Because, you know, for me, when I started to read Steinbeck at school, I felt like, wow, this is depressing. It almost seemed like every book was just like depressing. But when I picked this one up, it had a different element to it that I enjoyed immediately. It's the kind of book that I think that everyone will like and will be surprised by the way the story is and how interesting it is. I'm due for another reread of this sometime soon. I think I've read this twice. I probably need to read it again because I heard something about maybe there's a movie coming out of this book with maybe with I can't think of her name. I don't know. Anyway, there's supposed to be a movie I think coming out of East of Eden, a new version of it. So yeah, that's one of my influential books. Next influential book, I don't have it with me. You know the situation, the garage, the stuff. The next book is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Love this book. I think I read this book actually the first year I came to France. I read this book. And there was something in it that spoke to me as, you know, as a young woman in my 20s, reading about Maya Angelou's life and her freedom and her, you know, traveling and dancing in troops and things like. I just find the whole thing, I found it really interesting. And it's the kind of book that you can always reread and reread. It's not very long, but it's captivating. And it's, her story is told very well. So that's why I chose I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Next on my list is The Bluest Eye. As you know, Toni Morrison is one of my favorite writers, and The Bluest Eye is the first book that I read by Toni Morrison, and I read it at university. I think it was in my third year. I was in my third year of university doing English Lit, and I was in a Black women writers class. And we had to read quite a few novels by Toni Morrison. We had to read The Bluest Eye, Tar Baby, Song of Solomon, and I immediately fell in love with the writing. It is superb, spectacular. The story, of course, is very sad and disheartening and a little hard to read at times. But the reality and the realness of the story shines through, and that's just, for me, was the thing that captivated me and drew me into Toni Morrison and her writing. The next book is The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. This book freaking blew my mind. I learned so many things that I had no idea about concerning health and testing in hospitals, and when they take blood samples and test in tissues and stuff like that. Like, where does all that stuff go? Well, you need to read Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, and then you figure out where it goes, and it'll freak your ass out. It's like it freaked mine out. But it's an amazing story, and it has so many things in it because it talks about her life and her. The book was actually powerful. It's a must read, but there was something that really creeped me out in this book and made me extremely sad in the inside. I think when I read that book, I think I didn't read for like a week or two. And then when I started to read again, I was searching for something seriously uplifting. Let's just put it that way. Okay, next book I have on my list is The Science of Black Hair. Now, as you know, in some of my earlier videos, I talked about this, is I went natural about 4 years ago. So it's 4 years and 3 months ago, something like that. And the thing that made me understand my hair better and to treat it with care and to know what to do with it was The Science of Black Hair. Now, if you're a natural or somebody who's thinking about being natural and you have to be watching this video, you need to pick up this book because it is the only book out there that gives you the real scientific and information on black hair and how it grows and what you need to do with it, and products, and how you should be more careful about what kinds of products you put on your hair and how you treat your hair, putting heat and all the rest of it. It's in The Science of Black Hair. That's why for me this is an influential book, because it was a turning point for me going natural 4 years and 3 months ago. Okay, my next book is Le Petit Nicolas. This is a bind up of the second volume of the Petit Nicolas, and this is one of the first books in French that I enjoyed reading when I was younger. And what's really cool about it is, like it's the drawings, because the drawings are done by Sempe and mixed with the stories themselves. It's sort of like classic old France. And yeah, I think it's kind of sweet. So yeah, that's why I chose this one. All right, now my last one is A Confederacy of Dunces. Now, the thing about Confederacy of Dunces is I read this book, I think I was either in my junior year or senior year of high school. And it was the first time I had ever read a book that was so quirky and strange, and with a main character that's just, yeah, quirky and weird. And it was a book that was on our that our teacher put on our reading list. This wasn't like really part of the program, but she felt like she could force it into the program, which she did, and I'm glad she did, because it sparked me to look for books that contain, you know, out of the ordinary type stories. And the thing that is really special about this book is that um, Kennedy Toole, who wrote this book, was actually my English teacher's professor when she was at university in New Orleans. So, wow, that was kind of, yeah, that was kind of cool. So this book is kind of particular to me, and I really enjoyed reading it. And I think I read that book as well twice in my lifetime. Probably due for another reread of that, because it is really, it's just well done. The story's put together really well, and it encompasses quite a lot of different themes. And the fact that the main character is just, he's cracky, is what makes the book something special. That's why, I mean, most people that have read this book, they usually like it. I don't think I've met anyone that's read that book that doesn't like it. But anyway, so those are all of my 10 influential books, but of course there are many more. Short. I probably could have done a really good job with 20, but anyway, and then I didn't follow the rules and I talked about the books, sorry, but I just found that kind of useless to just list off a bunch of books, and then I would have to spend the next week you know, asking for, you know, responding to your questions about why'd you pick that book, why'd you pick that book, why'd you pick that book. Anyway, so now you know that's my 10 influential books tag. Everybody's mother, brother, and dog has done this one, so no need to tag anyone. So if you're not making videos, but you comment on videos, why don't you comment below and, you know, list your 10 favorites? I mean, there's room, okay? All right, bye.